Leading worship at a smaller church does not mean that you're less powerful or less anointed. Leading worship at a small church is just as important, it's just as great, it's just as powerful as leading worship in a large church. And today we're going to be talking about the advantage that you have with leading worship at a small church. And I'm your host, Michael E. Gould, and I help worship leaders grow spiritually and practically so that they can lead worship effectively. Today, we're going to be talking about how to lead worship in a small church. And I'm going to be giving you some advantages that you have while leading worship at a small church. And I'm going to even giving you tips on how to lead more effectively at a small church. But before we get started, of course, I want to give you something free that I believe is going to help you to grow in your confidence. Whether you're at a small church or either at a large church or mid-sized church, you still need to have confidence to lead people into the presence of God. So I'm going to give you my confident worship leader guide. In this guide, it has some tips on how to discover what's holding you back and stopping worship leaders from being confident. It's going to help you to lead powerful moments of worship in holy boldness. It's some things that I've learned over my 15 plus years of leading worship that's helped me grow in my confidence, and I want to share it with you. So all you have to do is go to my website, Michael E. Gould, GOULD.com/confident worshiper, and you can be able to get this. Again, it's michaelegould.com/confident worship, and you can be able to get this free guide right now. So let's jump into today's topic. Again, we're talking about how to lead worship at a smaller church. And before we can even give you these tips on how to lead worship or be more effective at your smaller church, I want to bust some myths really quick. First myth is the average size of a church is not a mega church. The average size of a church, the everyday church, is not a large church with thousands of members. That's not realistic. The average church actually in America has less than 75 people in a church. Did you know that? That it's less than 100 people in the average size of America's church. That lets me know that mega churches, large churches are an anomaly. They're like they're one in the thousands. So I don't want you to feel like, man, everybody's church is big but mine. No, that's not true. You're actually where you're supposed to be. You're in that thousands and thousands of churches that are 100 or less. Now, does that mean you're less powerful? Does that mean you're less anointed? Does that mean that you're less effective because you're in a smaller church? No. And that does not mean that your church is less effective or the whole church is less powerful. You guys are powerful in your own way. You guys are effective in your own way. You have the power and the presence of God in that church, and you make lasting change. You are the standard. You are the standard. Your 100 or less is actually the standard. So you're doing a great job. I just wanted to bust that myth because a lot of people feel that large churches are, the standard, but they're not. You actually are the standard, and you're not less powerful because you lead worship at a smaller church. I want to tell you that smaller churches actually have some advantages to them. They have some advantages to them that they may not even know. And one of the advantage is less people. Less people in the room is actually better than having thousands of people in the room. Here's why. Because with less people, you have less people in the room who are not coming to create an atmosphere. I've led worship where there's a whole bunch of people, hundreds and hundreds of people, but a lot of them are just spectators. A lot of them are just coming just to hear the music, just to hear their favorite preacher, their favorite singers. And they're not even coming to worship. They're just coming just to be a spectator, which actually hinders the move of God, stops the move of God, what actually can quench the Holy Spirit because they're coming just for a show. And when there's less people in the room, that means there's less spectators. That means there are less people who are coming who doesn't want to create an atmosphere. So when you have less people in the room, it's actually an advantage. And another advantage of having less people in the room is if you make a mistake, less people saw you. I mean, let's be real. If there's only 50 people in the room and you mess up this guitar solo, or you mess up you plant your chord structures, or you hit a bad note, only 50 people heard you hit a bad note. You're not online going viral because you hit a bad note. So it's advantages. You have advantages. And then another advantage is when there's less people, there is a better chance of connection with you, with the people, and with God. Because when there's less people, that most of the time, sometimes when less people, I've noticed when leading worship, when we have less people in the room, the more hungry the people are in the room. The more hungry people are for the power and the presence of God. Now, am I saying that they can't be hungry in large churches? No, I'm just going off my experience. And, like I said, you have a better chance of getting a connection, an authentic connection with you, the presence of God, and the people. Don't forget to download my Confident Worship Leader Guide. It's going to give you those tips and tricks to help you to be a little bit more bolder in your worship leading. I'll see you guys at the next video. Peace.